Thank you. You shedding light on this is helping more than you know.
Let's be clear from the outset. In this situation, you are already dead. I mean, at least you're alive now, right? That's good. That means you're subject to the cruel whims of the entities we are about to dissect. You may have clicked this video looking for a survival guide, but at this point it's more a eulogy in advance. Even now, while I record this, it feels like I'm being watched by something. Hundreds of hours of research has led me to these revelations, and I will get this information out to you, my dear viewers. Analog horror, that deliciously unsettling subgenre of terror, thrives on the uncanny, the liminal, the almost familiar but wrong. Grainy VHS tapes, flickering CRT screens, distorted emergency broadcasts, and, importantly, terrifying monsters. Violations of natural law, often wearing the skin of something that I could once recognize. And the fun part is, you cannot survive them. Genuinely, I'm going to show you. My last few months have been consumed by a relentless obsession with understanding how we could avoid destruction when faced with the circumstances depicted in series like the Mandala Catalog or Local 58. And like, you might think that you have a chance. Maybe you've binged enough horror movies to assume that running or hiding or cleverly outsmarting the monster is an option, and that's adorable. These creatures, these entities, operate on a different wavelength of reality, one where human instincts are useless and can even be actively detrimental. Tonight, we are going to be covering 6 different, distinct entities, including some that most occult knowledge seekers will already be familiar with, and also some more underrated creatures that I stumbled across recently. But what makes analog horror entities different? Generally speaking, traditional monsters like vampires, werewolves, and just slashers follow rules that we have distilled to a science over time. They can be staked, silvered, outmaneuvered. Analog horror entities, at least currently, often don't have very easily definable rules. In a meta context, they make the rules, often within their own narratives. They exist in the static between channels, in the half-second glitch of a corrupted tape, in the face that stares back at you from behind the television screen just a little bit too long. In my opinion, these monsters occupy a space online that's similar to that of old creepypastas, but in a visual format. And the whole analog aesthetic encourages mystery within the narrative. I see a lot of analog horror being an offshoot of cosmic horror, if we want to get genre specific, and the creatures are often just as incomprehensible. Their motives are alien, incoherent, they don't want in any way that we can immediately understand. Additionally, you will find that they are unbound by physics, flickering in and out of existence, moving in impossible ways, or simply being where they should not be. It feels like they know that I'm watching them while I'm watching them. I've ordered the creatures on the list from most to least survivable, but, you're dead to you're really dead doesn't really make for much of a material difference. Regardless, let's start with Entity 1, the alternates from the Mandala Catalog. Consider this less a lecture and more a pre-mortem analysis, a forensic report on a death that hasn't quite happened yet, but is statistically speaking already a foregone conclusion for anyone unfortunate enough to cross their path, in this case that person being you, dear viewer. The first thing you need to understand about alternates is that they are almost right. That's what makes them effective. They are humanoid in shape, but their proportions are just off enough to trigger a primal, gut-churning unease. The kind that makes the back of your neck prickle before your brain even registers why. Even the name alternate whispers of something that should not be. My research, conducted in the flickering glow of a monitor that sometimes seems to hum with an unnatural frequency, reveals them to be entities of profound unsettling malice. They are, at their core, humanoid in form, but that is a thin veil over impossible anatomies and a logic that defies all natural law. The most infamous and frankly the most terrifying ability that they possess is the whole mimicry thing. They are the ultimate imposters, capable of perfectly replicating the appearance, voice, and even subtle mannerisms of a loved one, a neighbor, trusted authority figure. Like, imagine you open your door to a familiar face, a comforting presence, only to realize too late that the eyes are just a little too wide, the smile a little too fixed, the voice echoing with an unnatural resonance that chills you to your very bones. While the idea of a mimic is something that has now been done absolutely to death by analog horror, this was one of the first cases of its use within the genre. And one could argue that this series' success instigated our current fascination with creatures that mimic human behavior and steal the mannerisms of those closest to you. It's such a great concept on its own, feeding into that paranoia of people you trust, your friends, your family, your lovers, political figures. Anyone could be a monster in disguise. Their abilities are not intended to merely get close enough to kill you. Oh no, that would be far too simple, far too merciful. Their true artistry lies in the psychological torment that they inflict, a slow, methodical unraveling of the victim's mind. They stalk their chosen prey with insidious precision. Once cornered, and once the mimicry has done its work of isolating and terrifying the victim, they unleash their most potent weapon, inducing metaphysical awareness disorder, which the acronym for is just MAD. Haha, real clever. The precise mechanism remains elusive, an unfortunate gap in my understanding, but the implications are clear. It is implied that through specific tones, a particular inflection, or the utterance of certain forbidden truths, that they can infect the victim with a profound existential dread and a realization of the horrifying nature of reality itself. Complete breakdown of the self. A forced confrontation with a cosmic horror so vast and indifferent that the only logical conclusion, the only escape, would be self-annihilation or suicide. And it's so evil. They whisper promises of peace, of an end to the torment, of a release from the unbearable weight of their presence, until the victim, utterly broken at that point, finally does their bidding. Symptoms of MAD include recurring nightmares of a version of yourself that isn't you, auditory hallucinations, and the unshakable certainty that you are already dead, and what walks in your skin is something else. Yet, for all their psychological finesse, let us not be so naive as to mistake them for mere ethereal tormentors. My research, particularly recovered footage from various incidents, confirms that they are perfectly capable of brute force as well. Fantastic. When the psychological warfare fails, or perhaps simply when they grow impatient with their prey, it seems that they will resort to physical violence. The PSAs from the Department of Temporal Phenomena suggest firearms as a last resort. A last resort against something that can warp perception and drive you to suicide by talking to you. The restored versions of the Mandela Catalog tapes, like the recently released ones, reveal something that's truly insane to me. The original warning to not help people who were reporting alternate interactions was itself a corruption. Manipulation by the alternates to ensure their victims remained isolated and their pleas for help unheard. This confirms their intelligence, strategic thinking, their desire to maximize the suffering, minimize any chance of intervention. It's very, very smart. It's fucking crazy. The whole think principle thing from the series, that desperate plea for self-preservation with suicide as the ultimate final option, becomes a bitter irony when the entities hunting you are actively chasing you towards that precipice. Survival advice. My extensive and frankly soul-crushing research into these entities has led me to a singular conclusion. There is no survival. I don't think that's what you want to hear though, so If you suspect mimicry, avoid. Do not engage with them. The number one thing is to not let them target you in the first place. If you suspect you've already been targeted, you need to try and manage to resist or manage the madness that they induce. If they begin to whisper the truths of your insignificance and the true nature of reality, resist the urge to believe them. Try to hold on to memories of reality that you knew before, however illogical they may seem to you now. And if you're already the primary target, though, I don't know. Let's turn to the second entity, the harvester. Moving our gaze to the verdant yet utterly lethal botanical nightmare known as the harvester, a well-known viticarnous entity, or rather more of an organism, is a reminder that even the most serene woodlands can harbor a hunger far more indifferent than any predator you've ever imagined. Your demise, orchestrated by silent, subterranean tendrils and a logic as cold and unfeeling as the earth itself. Your chances of survival plummet to a statistical impossibility. The harvester, whose Latin name I can't pronounce but can read, describes a gruesome gathering of flesh. It is the fifth and my personal favorite member of the original Carni's family. Unlike its more mobile brethren, the harvester is a grotesque, bulbous, plant-like specimen rooted in the sparse, unsuspecting woodlands of the northern hemisphere. Picture a monstrous, crimson-hued bulb, roughly 3 meters tall and 2 meters wide. The pulsating heart of your worst nightmare, from which extends a vast unseen network of tendrils beneath the ground, stretching an astonishing 150 meters in every direction, forming an invisible web of death directly beneath your feet in the seemingly peaceful forest floor. The instrument of your inevitable demise, should you come into contact with one of these plants, is the tendrils. The harvester is equipped with two distinct and equally horrifying types of tendrils. The first type are bulky and flat. These lie deceptively close to the surface, hidden beneath leaves and soil, awaiting the careless footfall. They are armed with spines, each one almost a miniature bear trap designed to deliver a dual payload of chemicals. One side injects a potent neurotoxin, causing sudden, complete paralysis. Imagine one moment you're just walking through the forest, perhaps admiring a bird or an insect, listening to music in your earbuds, music such as the sleeper indie hit album My Glass Materials. Look it up if you don't believe me, it's really good. And the next moment you feel something, a little prick, and your muscles just lock. Your body becomes a rigid, unresponsive prison. Your mind screams as it remains acutely aware of what's going on. The other side of the spines administers an anticoagulant, which is truly diabolical. As the tendrils thrash, creating multiple shallow wounds in your body, this new substance ensures that your blood is unable to clot and simply pours forth from your body, a slow and agonizing death. Then we have the second type of tendril, sharing a disturbing kinship with smaller branches of the crawl, which are nutrient absorbers. Silent scavengers equipped with specialized organelles that can sense the scent of blood. Your blood from like miles away. So once the first tendrils have done their work, these finer, more insidious tendrils will move towards the source to absorb the vital fluids directly from your dying or already dead body. Once your body has been thoroughly drained, the harvester just drags your remains into the earth with a lack of ceremony. But even then, your usefulness is not over. Your decaying flesh becomes nutrients for the surrounding soil, boosting local plant growth and attracting other organisms, larger ones, into the harvester's hunting radius. It's a self-sustaining cycle of death and vitality, a perfectly balanced ecosystem. Unfortunately, you're just at the bottom. You're a bottom. What makes the harvester really terrifying, besides the gruesome anatomy, is just how efficient it is, dude. It's not even like a mindless beast. It's a calculating, energy conscious predator that assesses targets weighing the energy expenditure of an attack against the caloric gain. Like, if you do your research, you'll notice that smaller animals like hares or birds are often left undisturbed, allowed to thrive even within the radius and acting as bait for larger, more profitable prey. Fucking capitalists. And should the current hunting grounds prove insufficient, a harvester can move and relocate. Admittedly, very, very slowly. Survival advice. Okay, so you want to know how to survive? Again, this video is titled Monsters You Have Zero Chance of Surviving, and yet you still want practical advice. Genuinely, what is wrong with you? First, I guess I would say stay out of the woods. Pretty simple. If the harvester prefers woodlands, perhaps a nice open desert or a bustling metropolis would be a safer vacation spot or living area. Of course, given its ability to slowly migrate, even those might not be safe forever. But for now, consider a concrete jungle as your best bet against, say, a literal jungle. Given that its tendrils can sense blood, perhaps try to avoid any open wounds or, existing as a blood-filled organism. Like, you get a minor cut from a thorny bush, that's a dinner bell ringing to a harvester. It's probably best to remain hermetically sealed, so maybe invest in a full-body blood-proof suit before venturing outdoors. Additionally, the harvester is energy efficient and it ignores small prey. So if you happen to be a hare or a small bird, you just might get a pass. Unfortunately, as a human, if you are a human, you are an uncharacteristically large, juicy target. Maybe try to shrink yourself. Get the shrink ray from Despicable Me. The point I'm trying to make is the best survival strategy, as always, is simply to not be there when the shit is going down. But if you are, take comfort in knowing that your demise will at least be efficient and your remains will contribute to the vibrant ecosystem of Vita Carnis. The other night I was watching YouTube and came across a strange new analog horror series documenting an entity called The Silencer. A few channels that I really love, Connor McGrath, Muldered, Your Everyday Theorists, talked about The Silencer and kind of showed me what it was. There's only 2 videos so far, but you should totally watch their stuff and you should watch the series itself. It's really, really, really cool. A malevolent consciousness that sets its sights on the most vulnerable of targets. The pained mind, an entity that feeds on depression and encloses its victims in a shroud of silence, where their cries for help are distorted into something benign. It slips into your head, a phantom whisper that gradually becomes the dominant voice inside you. Its evil nature is rooted in this horrifying ability to infiltrate your consciousness, disguising itself as your own inner monologue. The voice that tells you you're worthless, that no one cares, that there's no escape. That voice isn't even yours anymore. It becomes the cruel, relentless narrator of your descent, twisting your fears, amplifying your anxieties, and turning your deepest insecurities into inescapable realities. And most importantly, it silences you by making it impossible to tell anyone what's happening. The words get stuck, the thoughts become tangled, the very act of communication becomes an insurmountable barrier. You are trapped, screaming internally, while outwardly you may appear perfectly fine to those around you. And that is the triumph of the silencer, the complete and utter isolation of their prey, even amidst friends and family. Then once you are ensnared in your delusions, once your spirit is broken and your mind is a fractured landscape of despair, the silencer will attempt to drive you to suicide. A horrific cycle where your pain becomes its power and your demise becomes its nourishment. This entity preys on the very human experience of internal struggle, the silent battles we fight within our own minds. The notion that one can appear outwardly content, laughing with friends, while internally grappling with catastrophic thoughts. It's a common reality for many, many people. At different points in my life, that was my reality. The Silencer story so far kind of takes that idea and dramatizes it, transforming that experience of your thoughts lying to you into a literal monstrous entity. And the idea that separating yourself from that inner voice, that learning to rewrite it is a crucial step towards mental well-being, is actually twisted into a trap by the Silencer. It ensures that the courage to ask for help, the crucial first step away from suicidal ideation, is precisely what it's targeting, what it's silencing. Survival advice. It seems impossible to defeat this creature by any ordinary conventional means, but the 2 videos that we have so far show us that not only is it impossible to call for help, but it's also impossible to impact your surroundings to alert other people that you're being haunted by the creature. It's ingenious, really. I can't help but feel impressed by the entity. The only known cure is therapy. Just kidding, that will do nothing. I'm hoping that as more videos in the series come out, we will be able to learn more about how to exploit the creature and escape the cycle. The GPS monster. A bit of an oxymoron, blending the sterile efficiency of modern tech with the primal creature. Monster. Just odd. This enigmatic entity, the main antagonist of Local 58's "You Are on the Fastest Available Route" video, is a fusion of a humanoid creature kind of hybridized with the features of a moose. The familiar, almost majestic silhouette of an antlered beast contorted and twisted into a human frame, lurking in the impenetrable darkness of a forest. A biological anomaly that should not exist. And yet, there it is, waiting at a destination you never chose to arrive. The basic premise of the video is simple. Our unnamed driver, following the seemingly innocuous instructions of their GPS, proceeds down a desolate road deep within a forest. The navigation, in its calm, synthesized voice, then issues a strange command. Come to a stop and turn off your headlights. The driver, perhaps out of habit, perhaps out of a naive trust in technology, complies, and there they sit plunged into complete darkness. The silence of the forest presses in, amplifying every rustle, every creak. This moment of forced vulnerability leaves the victim exposed and utterly helpless. And then we can hear this monstrous roar. Ancient, guttural, and deeply wrong. Genuinely, the first time I watched this video, I was haunted by that scream. The driver, in a desperate, instinctual act, flashes their headlights, and for a fleeting second, the creature is illuminated in the distance, and a glimpse is all it takes. What follows after that is a frantic, desperate escape attempt. The driver speeding through the forest, the car bouncing wildly around, the trees blurring. But as this is happening, the seemingly helpful GPS suddenly becomes a tormentor. It states, detached, your destination is behind you. You are rapidly approaching your destination. The screen cuts to black, and then to a horrifying image. The car, mangled and crashed. The unnamed driver was killed. Obviously, the creature itself was the destination, a predator of impossible speed, capable of moving faster than a speeding vehicle, cutting off its prey with almost supernatural understanding of the landscape. The creature used our navigation systems against us, and mirrors the general themes of tech mistrust that we see woven throughout all of Local 58. Like, that's the whole series of Local 58, pretty much. Survival advice. Okay, so what you'll want to do here is not trust your GPS, your phone, your radio, your computer, your TV. Hell, definitely don't trust the electric car. Did you know birds aren't real? They're watching you. The owls are watching you. If your GPS or any automated system directs you to a desolate, unlit area, particularly in the middle of nowhere, for no apparent reason, and tells you to turn off all your lights, do not comply. Your best defense would have been to immediately turn around, even if it means ignoring the increasingly insistent and malevolent voice. Turn off the GPS. If ever commanded to extinguish your lights in a dark, isolated area, defy the instruction. Don't live so fast that you fall into obvious traps. Even the title, Fastest Available Route, implies that you are trying to go out of your way to find a shortcut. Remember, kids, shortcuts make long delays. Drive safe, or don't drive at all. The second to last entry isn't even an entity at all, plunging into another unsettling corner of existence where the very essence of life, water, becomes the conduit for our demise. The insidious threat of the tangi virus, a condition from the series by the YouTube channel Vintage 8. Forget monsters chasing you through the woods. This one infiltrates your very being and turns your body into a host and your mind into a puppet. I now have a very distinct preference for bottled water, or we're not sponsored, but it's the only safe option now. I just generally distrust any urge that I have to go for a swim now, if that means anything. The tangi virus, a seemingly innocuous name for a disturbing affliction, tainted water, end of sentence. An extraterrestrial contagion that has seeped its way into our planet's water supply, specifically originating in a river within the Tangipahoa parish in Kate's Crossing. Take a drink of water from the river, and then, without warning, it begins its gruesome work on your body. The virus acts somewhat like a hive mind, stripping away individual autonomy and replacing it with a collective, malevolent will. Once ingested, the virus begins to manifest a series of symptoms that escalate from mere discomfort to that aforementioned biological takeover. An itchy throat, a minor rash, perhaps some nausea and diarrhea. Initial signs are easily dismissed, perhaps as a common cold or a minor stomach bug. Then, the eyes become irritated, and soon the truth emerges. You have been infested with worms, and the worms, the parasites, are a physical manifestation of the virus's insidious presence. Your body is no longer your own, and it only gets worse from here. Yay! As the infection progresses, internal havoc intensifies. Victims experience blood in their urine and stool. Meningitis sets in, attacking the brain and spinal cord, further compromising any sort of cognitive function. And the most grotesque development is the emergence of tumors, grotesque growths that are not only cancerous, but are also full of the worm organisms. And those tumors act as a second brain. The tumors seem to act like a control center for the hive mind, and the worms within them, and then throughout the body as they specifically target the nervous system and brain, ensuring complete neurological subjugation of the victim. The behavioral changes are also quite something. Victims exhibit homicidal aggression, their personalities warping into violent and unpredictable forms. The tumor acts as a direct conduit for external command. Even sleep offers no escape, as victims experience vivid dreams, likely a byproduct of the virus's manipulation of their neural pathways. Then the ultimate mutation occurs, as the victim literally transforms into an amphibious alien creature, driven by an overwhelming urge to submerge yourself in water and then attack people from the water. Just crazy shit, man. The nature of a waterborne infection means that escape is nearly impossible, especially if this ever gets out of the river that it initially came from. The very source of life becomes death. The fact that you get taken by water is why the entity is so late on my list, because any hope of reasoning or negotiation gets eliminated by the mind control once you're already taken by it. Survival advice. Okay, so if you want to survive, like a lot of other analog horror, you kind of just want to be somewhere else, somewhere where that thing isn't happening. There are exceptions to this, such as much larger threats that I think I might cover in another installment of this kind of video, if you guys like it. If we get to, I don't know, 3,000 likes, I'll make a part 2, make a follow-up. In this case, we could extrapolate to assume that the water gets poisoned in more places. So to stay unharmed, you could just try avoiding water. If it's not bottled, filtered, or boiled from confirmed safe sources, do not consume it. This includes tap water in affected areas, rivers, lakes, even puddles. Just basically assume all natural water sources are compromised. Your best defense is to become a connoisseur of purified, sealed beverages. Additionally, if you feel an overwhelming need to go sit in water, the urge to submerge is a symptom of advanced infection. So if at all possible, resist it with every fiber of your being, because that is the virus's final command to its victims and its way of turning you into an active vector. If you feel the urge, tie yourself down. Lock yourself away from any water source. Pretend you're tied to the mast as you sail past the sirens, and just hope for the best. At that advanced stage, though, it's likely that your brain cognitively can't function correct. So, just don't be in that situation. Duh. Ultimately, the virus is a pervasive, biologically devastating threat. Your survival is not only about escaping death, but it's more about delaying your transformation into another agent of the aquatic alien will. So drink responsibly, my friends. And now for the final entity, my personal favorite. The boiled one, also known as Fen 228, created by Dr. Nowhere, a tall, lanky humanoid entity, its skin a raw crimson color. One could imagine it being flayed, boiled, and then left to fester. Its head, a grotesque deformity, melted, with a gaping maw revealing multitudes of teeth, and unsettlingly large, human-like eyes that seem to gaze into the deepest recesses of your soul. From its head, and from beneath its black cloaked form, jut multiple wiry hair-like appendages, rigid and spiky, like a crown of thorns. Glimpses of its body reveal an arm with multiple unnatural joints, and most notably, a giant pulsating orifice in its chest. The boiled one seemingly possesses the ability to change its height. We're not totally sure on that one, because when I look at it, it could either be that it's able to change its height, or it's the perception of the difference between an adult and a child looking at him, and the size perception there, especially since its existence is a manifestation of a certain imagination component. The person who's seeing him is hallucinating him to some degree, but it is still real at the same time. It's strange. It's such an interesting creature. I love the design of this guy. But if it can change its height, it allows it to loom over its victims or to compress itself to fit into confined spaces. And more crucially, it is invisible to most naked eyes. A spectral stalker that exists beyond human perception. It seems like cameras can capture its distorted form, but also it seems like it grants the privilege of seeing it to people that it singles out and chooses. And I use the word privilege very lightly because it's really not a privilege to be targeted by this thing. The selective visibility element forces its victims to question their sanity, doubt what they see, and feel an omnipresent threat all of the time. What little is known of its actions paints a picture of a malicious yet calmly spoken and highly intelligent entity. Its focus on the family of Job Zamperini, a World War II POW, reveals a predilection for preying on existing trauma and exploiting wounds of the past. It tortures Job psychologically by delivering unholy information. It stalks him and his family, an unseen shadow that permeates every aspect of their lives, and based on its speech in hijacked broadcasts, it is fully aware of the suffering it inflicts, intentionally causing its victims to experience paralysis. And yet, it will attempt to convince its victims that they are destined for a righteous future, a malevolent messenger, a herald of dread, trauma, doomsday, and eternal suffering. Listen closely. Do you hear it? You will hear the laughter of thousands as the sky opens up. You will hear the trumpets play their happy sounds. The scalding blood of life will pour down onto us all. Together, we will be still. Together, a feast fit for a king. Together, welded by love and purest connection. Not even gonna lie, this one is so messed up, dude. Survival advice. The original Boiled One video actually comes with survival tips in the video itself. Avoid any cognitive contact with Fen228, including the viewing of its face. Definitely don't want to look at its face. If you hear something unusual speaking in tongues, make sure to wear earplugs, open the Bible to Psalm 91:10, and write on paper, I can see this paper, I can see my hand, I can't hear the screaming of thousands, I can't hear the feast, I am a moving, breathing human being on planet Earth. And after that, you recite Psalms 91:10 aloud. Psalms 91:10 states, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. If memories or imagery of something unholy persist in your mind, pray, contact authorities, after which you will be administered amnestics. Upon watching footage of Fen228, wear light blue glasses and view from a distance of at least 3 feet or more. And absolutely, under no circumstances should you try to sleep if you have memorized Fen228's face or experienced any of its side effects. One of the things that makes the Boiled One such effective material is the whole cognitive hazard that it presents the viewer. The creator of the video primes you by saying, hey, don't watch this, it'll infect you. And then they tell us, hey, infected people hear trumpets. And then 10 minutes later, after subjecting us to enough visual torment that we've forgotten about that thing that we learned at the beginning, we suddenly hear the trumpets in the background. It's such a well-designed mental loop that immediately puts you on edge. Then Fen228 hijacks the video itself, and all hope for you is lost. Okay, so we've delved into some truly inescapable entities from the world of analog horror. But I'm curious, are there other creatures in the genre that you'd consider even more unsurvivable? I'm sure there are. I tried to go a little bit easy on the first iteration of this. Do you think that the ones we've discussed would have been easy to defeat? Like, how would you do it? How would you go about it? Let me know in the comments. And for a different kind of unsettling experience, consider listening to my album, My Glass Materials. It features lo-fi folk music with accompanying evil lyrics. So perfect for those who appreciate dark lyrics. You can find it on Spotify, here on YouTube, wherever you listen to music. But yeah, after making this video, my mind feels like it's been stretched. The lines that make up my reality are blurring, because these stories aren't just stories anymore. They're like patterns everywhere. The static on the screen, the hum of the refrigerator, the way the shadows lengthen around every corner of my room. There's not really any escape. Not from the ones that don't just kill you, but they change you, they erase you, they consume the very essence of what you are. Like, survival guide. Those are just some pretty words, a comforting lie that I tell myself before the inevitable. Really quickly before I go, I'd like to thank those who enable this kind of research over on Patreon. You should join too, before it's too late. The Daniel Profeta channel is made possible by supporters over on Patreon and by viewers like you. Thank you so much. Thank you Kira, AJ, Dark Beast, Bile, Coyote, Cuba, Bat Noise, Phoenix, Bees, Joy, Amelia, Boris, Panflute, Thomas, Audrey, Justin, Lou, Ray, ZK, Tom, Dave, Elkie, Stardrop, Nude, George, Joseph, Mr. Fox, JK, Kyojin, Drarko, Geek, Lori, Bun, April's, Kira's, and The Things. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.